people wanting to go somewhere else as well and see what's out there.
And you got Alan's number? Yeah. Okay. Howdy.
What's up?
Oh, we didn't get a chance to put the names up, so pick a spot.
Okay.
Okay?
That's fine. Do you need me to look at those real quick?
I'm sorry?
Do you need to look at the little name things real quick?
Yeah, you can if you want. Looks like we're still gonna be waiting a few minutes.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Shauna?
Good.
Good.
Busy, busy.
I'll tell you what, you guys have been hopping.
It's been, it's just nonstop. That place is crazy. The fiestas were, it was our busiest weekend ever.
Really?
And that was including a 5-hour power outage. So, that's good.
Well, as long as you have cold beer, the power outage is not gonna hurt anybody.
Well, yeah, until it gets dark.
Yeah.
And then it got real dicey.
Oh.
So you're saying they should have less stands every year?
Oh, I really liked the way it was this year.
Right?
I thought it was great. It was like,
I mean,
you know, I
do you
think,
think people pushed out to restaurants more because it was less, like, I mean, it was harder to get to the
Yeah.
steps with it. But they ventured out, it seems like they ventured out into the restaurants a lot more with less stands.
well, it was cool because all the local food trucks were there, you know, so, and I think the only complaint I heard was that it was kind of too adult-oriented with the, you know, not a lot for kids.
Right.
But I feel like maybe have kids have their own event. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like it
next
doesn't-
year,
Probably
they
the carnival
probably.
next year, right?
Yeah.
Next year they probably will. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the intent even for this year. And,
For the hotels,
And,
there seemed to be less kids overall.
Right.
Which I thought, okay, maybe the thing this year, and sort of kind of easier to handle
Yeah.
with
right.
less kids. So I kind of liked it more, but I can understand too, because it's, with COVID, I think that was part of the deal too. There was a lot were reluctant to bring kids. Even
Yeah.
though there was plenty at the park, but at the hotels, I noticed less.
so they'll probably end up doing something either at Carnegie and/or Lincoln Parks next year.
Okay,
And for that has more kids-oriented stuff.
yeah. And that would be good to separate it into another park.
We just couldn't get
yeah,
it together this
yeah.
year. We just didn't have enough time.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah,
we
but
didn't know.
I think it was great.
It
that
was
it
it was last minute.
Thank you.
And it's still a little chaotic with all
We
the
were still talking
paperwork.
about what if, at least 3 weeks before
Yeah.
the actual event, so that's kind of rough for the biggest event of the year, right?
Yeah.
But the stage was fantastic. People had, you know, the music was really
I've
successful.
heard a lot of comments, yeah, about the stage.
Yeah.
So I guess
Well,
that
the
went,
stage was fabulous. It's
Yeah.
about time they upgraded.
Is that,
You know?
Yeah.
should Chuck get the majority of the credit on that, or was there more to go around?
Well, he was planning on that for last year. And of course,
Uh-huh.
it was totally canceled,
Right.
so it
Okay.
never went anywhere. But, so, yeah, I think it would be nice. We asked a lot of people. They asked during the event, you know, how many like the new stage, and everybody raised their hand, and how many want it back at the gazebo, and you get like 1 or 2.
Good.
Okay.
Hey, Ellen. Let me bring up the agenda. Well, it was good the stage was a hit because everyone was blaming the power outage the night before
Oh my God.
on the stage.
Thank you.
Hang on 1
It's like,
second.
it must be that stage.
Well, everyone thought that, and the movies, it was kind of,
Right?
but then they said it was lightning.
Something.
Something. But it was, yeah, it was crazy.
No, the stage actually put everything in equal to other events that I've attended, you know,
Worked out.
in other parts of the states.
Oh, it was awesome.
Good
Yeah.
deal.
So kudos whoever put that together.
That was cool.
It was worth the money and you were able to see a lot more.
Yes.
Right.
You
From
know,
any
the
part of the
flow
park.
was better,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure the performers enjoy the stage a lot better because the other one, they're just so,
Yeah.
it just feels like
Crazy.
a little, you
Right.
know, hokey pokey.
Yeah.
It kind of
Yeah.
expanded the show and it kind of turned it more into
It
the
did.
park instead of
It
like
did.
one area where the
One
bleachers were
area.
at.
Right, no,
All right.
actually, I want to be part of that committee next year. Got some ideas.
Good deal. I thought you were already, you were on that, for some reason I thought you were on that committee.
I wish I was, but I'll be on it next year for sure.
All right, I'll wait for Bill to come back and, here we go. All right, looks like we've got a quorum, so, I'm going to, call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Krutik Bhakta,
Present.
Ellen Ayfield,
Here.
Gabriel Garcia, Georgina Ortega Angel,
Present?
Shauna Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, moving on to approval of agenda. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, if there's not any discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right,
Second.
all right. Roll call?
Did you get an agenda? You want to look at it? 'Cause,
Okay.
all right.
Ellen Ayfield,
There's also the stats on there.
I don't think he heard you.
Ellen Ayfield,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, this is on the motion for approval of agenda, Alan.
Yes.
Shauna Sandoval,
Yes.
and Georgina Ortega Angel.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, do we have any public input today?
I did not receive anything.
Okay. All right, moving on to approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
All right, if there's any other discussion, I'll entertain, all second. Roll call.
Shauna Sandoval,
Yes.
Georgina Ortega Angel,
Yes.
and Ellen Ayfield.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now with the finance report, go ahead, Bill.
Okay, I originally had submitted into your packet was the budget, approved budget by finance, and then Montana handed out the sheet. Unfortunately, Alan, I forgot that we should have probably emailed that to you, but we gave you an additional sheet. Have you handed that out yet? Oh,
I put it with the packets that I printed.
okay.
Hi, Alan. Where's your quicker meeting if you want to be a part? I'm just gonna hide over here behind this wall. I'm not done meeting. Okay. You want to speak somewhere else? If you can, but if you can't, it's okay. Can you hear us? Can they hear us right now? Yes. So, hold on, just.
So, did you hand them the new one yet, or? Okay.
So ignore the one that's in the packet?
Basically, this is an update to it, and at the time that I was doing that, my discussions with finance was, do they give me a starting balance and what's in lodger's tax? And the answer was no, so I had to go back and figure that all out. So the sheet that I gave you will be, similar to what I was reporting before, the same format with the budget on the left and the current status of funds for lodger's tax. So, we have a budget of $493,367. That's going to be the budget for this year. And for total revenues used, because not only do we have a current balance of $638,000, almost $639,000, we're going to be using 493 of that for this year's budget, if that makes sense. Okay? And then I'll just basically go over the items that we have in here. So the marketing plan, which was approved for $150,000, the I-25 billboards, this is going to be basically for next year. We've already have $13,000 encumbered for that, and that's billboards for this year. New Mexico True Advertising, we had budgeted for $80,000, but we're going to use about $79,000 of that. So we'll be using $79,000, and we'll have, we're just getting started on that, and we'll have Virginia give you a short brief on that. The rack card is coming up for approval at tomorrow's meeting. That's that 16-fold brochure for $10,500. And then the 3 projects that CCHP were approved for are just getting started now. And that's the Santa Fe Trail, the Solar Car Challenge, and New Mexico Cruise. The last 2 are going to happen in August, and the Santa Fe Trail is going to be ongoing between now and through September. Wayfinding is still in there for $63,000, and I'll talk about that later when we do the updates on the projects. The encumbered infrastructure for $15,000, that's a project that's being done through Highlands University with the museum, at the E. Romero Museum, and the Riverwalk benches for $19,900. And then the rest of the items is for the overhead, internal overhead and whatnot that we have to do for keeping lodger's tax going. And the budget for that, since we haven't started using any of the budget, they're all zeroed out. So over to the left is the budget for those items, up to $73,000. $73,502 is the budget for visitor center, all our ads for the meetings, telephones for the visitor center, potential audit, credit card processing fees, and the $40,000 is a transfer, but it's an overhead adjustment. So that's pretty much it, and then I'll go over a little bit more detail on some of the projects and give you an update on that later.
Thank you.
And the fact that our hotels have been, people are having a hard time booking hotels, so I think finance-wise, we're probably gonna see additional 300,000 plus probably come in by the end of the year. So,
I would say so from the production and from, it's twofold. A dramatic increase in people traveling. So I guess we're gonna have to, we'll see, we'll figure out how long
That lasts.
this bounce lasts. I think as long as, I think people have money. And I think once some of that goes, or people seem to have disposable cash right now, and they want to spend it. They've saved it over the year, there's the stimulus, so they're not afraid to go out and travel right now. We don't know when that burnout point is gonna be. I know this production's gonna end. I like to say it, but they keep extending, so, they keep saying, yeah, for this current production, they've extended through the 25th, but they've been known to keep extending. Heck, I might have even I haven't checked for this weekend, I may have got an email for that, but it is ending for the summer.
Okay.
And so that's the big, I mean, so far for production-wise that I've seen, this production's been the big hitter as far as capturing so many rooms. The other productions that we've had have been on a smaller level that didn't quite cover the number of rooms. So
Is this the Amazon one?
this is the Amazon one, is they have a considerable amount of rooms, as in more rooms than Las Vegas can supply. But once it's over, I'm not trying to look at some of the others. I don't think there's something as big as this down the pipeline. So maybe heading to the fall, we'd have to see how much demand for people traveling there is, or whether it starts running out, and what other things we have. But it's looking good, going into August. But I wouldn't say that until we see that it's sustainable through the fall and winter.
Okay. Well, so the budget is really predicated on existing funds, and typically, I think the last budget prior to COVID was estimating income at 377,000, so somewhere around 375 to 400. If that happens, then obviously that'll almost cover our budget again this year. So we will still have some funds that we'll have to look at, that we don't get caught with having too much money in our account.
It's either that or 2022, we're going to have the next year, we're going to have a good amount to work with. Our budget's going to be much larger,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
From what we're collecting now.
Okay, so that's the end of my report.
Okay. And so just, I'm just looking at it real quickly. So when we see it all the time, is it easier if we put like what we budgeted and then what we spent on it? Budget spent.
Usually what I'll do is, the budget numbers will stay over on the left, and then they'll slowly disappear. So for instance, let's say that once we spend the $80,000 on the New Mexico True or committed, that'll go into either be encumbered or paid, and if it's paid, it disappears off how much money we have, right?
Yeah, we
But it will disappear from the expenses because it's gone.
right, okay. So if there's a way to have, I guess, maybe the report where we keep seeing what we budgeted and what's been spent and encumbered on that.
Yeah, we can do that. Eventually, it goes to zero, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So as long as we know, hey, this is what we originally
Yeah.
budgeted, so we keep track, yeah, that's what we approved. We approved 63
I can do
for so
something like
on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a quick question, and let me see where it is. That brochure, the trifold or whatever it's called, did we get to see a preview of it?
I thought we did, but we'll have one tomorrow night at the meeting.
Before it goes
Yeah.
to...
All that we have is a sample of what it looks like, so it actually opens up to like 16 panels, like a trifold, but 16 folds.
Yeah.
and both backwards and front, and so the intent is to put a map on there of Las Vegas, and then, of course, advertise all the events and
map
the
would be great,
community,
yeah.
and all over the,
Will it have the
Different
Q
pages.
thing, so people can just put their phone on it and it'll send
I
them to
don't know
different
that
links?
specifically, but there should be no reason why we can't put QR codes on there for specific things.
Everywhere I travel, East Coast, West Coast, they're there, and all I do is, Zoom in and
We'll
I
have
can
to look
find out
at
all
it,
sorts of
because
stuff.
some of the things that would be really good, I don't know, I think we can QR code it, is the Las Vegas Connection app, which would be perfect to have something on.
Either goes to that, or at least a link to the website, and if they wanted to
All
find
our
out more,
websites, yeah, will be
Yeah.
on.
then
because then
everything
you
can
can
go
go
through.
to hotels, you can go to food, you can do, hiking adventures, whatever the city's list is,
Right,
it'll take you there, and you can pick whatever you want. But it'll give you the option.
yeah, will you add, and also, taking you to like the Visit Las Vegas website, which has all that information on it as well.
Right, so as long as, I guess that would be the QR code to have, and then we could center everything around that, and then we would just have to visit.
I'll talk to
Okay.
Melissa on that and.
It could link to an electronic version of the same thing, and so if it got wet, or if anybody else wanted it, somebody could just scan the QR code, and they can see everything else through the Visit NM site.
Okay,
I mean, I use it a lot when I do travel.
So I'm guessing it's doing all fall events then? Because originally, I think when we approved, or in my head, I was kind of thinking it was going to cover the summer as well if we moved up on it, but it looks like it's gotten delayed, so is it fall,
well,
spring? or-
I'm not sure what she did say what the timeline was to get it done. And
Yeah.
it's a lot quicker than doing like the visitor's
Visitor's guide,
So, but I don't remember specifically what the length of time was.
that they're covering as far as the events on the
Yeah,
trifold.
we'll probably, my guess is if we get this approved tomorrow night, that if we can get in the September and later events, that'll probably be about right. Because it's probably going to take 30 days. I don't know how much they've pre-worked on it in expectation that they're going to get it approved.
Okay.
Right, so I know they've probably done some work, but they probably didn't go far enough.
Well, after Tex approved it, this one we approved almost,
Yeah.
2 months ago?
Yep,
Easy.
yeah, but they were out of town for a bit, and we missed the first month of meetings, so it was,
July,
it came up in,
May.
July, yeah. So it didn't get done in time, or they couldn't make the meetings in
Okay,
June.
okay.
Yeah, but if they come to us and we're expecting that we approve it, and they know that there's timelines on it, it seems like they're getting paid to do a job with time restrictions on it, because if we don't get those fall events, especially the one in September, that's a big one that's coming up in September.
I'm
You know-
venturing to say they'll capture the fall, right? They just
Yeah,
couldn't get in
no,
time
I
in the
don't see
summer.
there should be any issues with that.
So maybe fall, some of
You know, I'm just
summer.
saying, if we're gonna be
I mean,
paying
spring,
for
sorry.
something, I would expect services rendered, because that's like us giving them, oh, we'll pay you, but can you wait till next 6 months from now? No.
Well,
Are
I
they
think part
planning
of the
on-
problem is one of the meetings, the second meeting in June was reserved for one thing only. And
Yeah,
so
with
we could
the-
not,
with the May
we
ones,
could
because
not
you
get
guys
them in,
already
and they
made-
would have been at that meeting.
Okay,
So that was the issue.
all right. Let's, maybe I'll have more questions on near another business down the road there. Is there any other discussion on, were we able to get Alan this updated sheet?
No, I should have emailed to him, I didn't think about it. You know, I
Okay.
just printed it out just before.
A version
No,
of
that's
it
the one
was...
That's the one
Just
that
now.
I gave you,
Yeah.
that's the, yeah.
I'll email it
one I
to him.
printed out.
Okay.
I'll email it to him.
So if there's not any other discussion, we can move forward.
Okay. Is Alan still there? Alan, are you still there?
Nope.
You lose him?
Yeah. You want to try calling him back?
Yeah, because we're coming up in business items, so if we can get him back.
Bill, do you know what our total of count was for the highest point of the festival, the music festival?
I heard some numbers for some folks that they could have been as high as 10,000, but I question that.
I was
did my
thinking more like
own-
5.
Huh?
I was counting more like
Is that-
5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was counting about 8 people per 100 square feet, and I did a thing with this, got the square footage for the park, and with it filled all the way up to the gazebo, it was about 4.
4.
About 4,000. So, give or take, so,
Yeah.
and with all the other people walking around and people, and then the one night, I guess, Saturday night, they went beyond the gazebo.
Yeah,
So I kind of agree with you that it's probably closer to 5.
that's kind of what I was
Yeah,
thinking too.
mhm.
Yeah,
But that was pretty good for 3 nights having that many people there,
yeah.
so.
And what were did we get any feedback from any of the entertainers about, what we could have done better for?
Not yet,
this
not
stadium?
yet. That's one of the things on the list that Chuck's got to get that taken care of as well, so.
Yeah.
We're still in recovery mode.
Okay. Okay. All right, so moving on to the business items, we got Alan back, right?
He should be on there, it's still.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're on business item number 1, approval of modifying event marketing and funding cap. I didn't know we had under the business item.
I put that on the agenda because of the situation that came up with some of the events that wanted to go over the 5,000, and then also was discussed to me by several of the council, and they brought it up in the meeting, that this is not really what we wanted, the intention or whatever. So, and you and I spoke about it, Crew Tech, about it as well. And so, I don't know whether we just, when we look at events and, or whatever the promotion is, we just review it at that point and just give our opinion. If it's more than 5,000, can we justify what the event is and go with that and just give that justification to council? And they can do with it as they please, of course, so.
Right, and so the reason it showed up in the first place was because there was no cap to it. So what I noticed is that each event slowly went up to each other, and so as we approved, events were growing. The next year, they were asking for more money, but there was no backup for why they were asking for more money. They just could ask more money.
Right.
And so there was no framework or proof for us to be fair to each group. And so that's why, we kind of fallen off that in the middle of having an application process and scoring each event properly so that we can say, hey, this justifies the money we're giving, or this is why we're approving this group versus another group. It needs to be fair every time. So I still think a system needs to be in place. We can certainly raise the caps, but I think that application process still needs to be strong. What we can do, and what I suggested to you, is now that we have the marketing committee, okay, we can go much stronger on the application process and use more time when somebody applies. We go through we gather all the applications, the marketing committee and lodger's tax can score it, okay? After we've scored it, we have a discussion and we talk about each packet on it. And it's accordingly to how they score is what we'd approve for funding. Certainly we could raise the caps and put different bins and say, hey, this, we have a little bit more lodger's tax money now, we're doing better, we can do higher bins, but there needs to be justification of why it's there, not just, hey, let's just ask for more and more the next year,
Yeah, I
right?
don't necessarily think the bigger the event, the bigger dollar amount should be, just because it's bigger doesn't mean the money's gonna be managed any better.
Any better, right. So that's how that if you really look through the packet, when you score it, it kind of has an even balance of everything, right?
Yeah.
So if it's something that uses more of a local base, there's greater points. If it uses more beds, there's points. So if you actually go through that packet, it's kind of well thought out. We're just not using it to its full potential. Now, there's gonna be events out there that are outside of this framework that we might think is extraordinary, and that's when we should recommend to council that what we feel, that this is outside of the framework of what we've set that this is something that council can take on with our recommendation.
Right.
And that's what they've done in the past. And so that's what we could do with I don't think we throw away the framework
Right.
because for the exception. And I think we've handled the exceptions the best we can so far with COVID. I think now that we're going into normal situations, we have some time, like I said, to go over these event packets, properly score them, discuss them, and have a fair designation of how much we can give for each event. The idea is that also that the people holding the event, they know what to expect to, what we're asking of them for it, that they're, look, we need reports, we need backup, we need to say, hey, we need to have a count of how many people came into our event, how many people maybe stayed, how many people ate, and we're expecting those reports, because they are asking for marketing assistance from us, so they should have some feedback to us. So that's the other thing that's also not happening. We don't hear that feedback until we talk about the event next year. So some of the reporting that needs to happen is within the next quarter after these events happen, is that we have this discussion, they come back and talk to us about the event, and we can see how they did. And when we do it that early, when we're setting our budgets and things later, then we can make adjustments to our entire event budget and to our caps for the individual events in that event bucket, right? That makes it a lot easier to plan for the next year.
Right.
So at minimum, I could say that we can lift the cap levels, but that's not solving what we need to do. I think when we continue on with the application process and actually go through it and score it like we do an RFP and talk about it and then award the money, I think we're going to find ourselves in a better spot and better able to say which event should have more money or less money.
Okay.
And that would provide us with a better recommendation to council.
And you mentioned about the marketing committee, and so do you want them to be part of some of those approvals process or review?
I think we should at least score it. See, to me, the approval would be pretty much automated by the score of the application, right? If it scored enough applications, it would in effect be approved, right? So that's what we wanted to take to get all the way down to. And if it didn't, then at least that event, whoever's holding that event, they could see that, like, you know what, we didn't provide a diverse enough. We just marketed. There was points here that we left, right? We provided points where, hey, marketed in different different avenues, whether it's spread it out between radio, print, and online, so you have the maximum value for that marketing, right? And so part of that scoring is part of that packet. So again, it benefits everyone because the event holders are now adjusting to how they're receiving the monies, right? If it's just automatic, well, there's no need for improvement. You will just keep receiving the money every year. And so if we want to have guidelines for lodger's tax on how we want it to be sent for marketing, we kind of at least need to have some guidelines on how it's done, all right? We're just not recommending doling out money. We're recommending that, hey, this is the fair use of funds. So we need to, going forward, I'd like to include the marketing committee because it's a broader range of every group in town. There's just more people, so it's more inclusive, so they know what's happening. They see each and every event, and so on. But what I don't want it to be is slowing down the process. So my hope is that we're broadening the group, but we want to be quick. We want to set a date to say, hey, we're going to score these events. We want to talk about it, and then we want to award accordingly. And it's awarded on the score. That's why it's fair to everyone, right? It's not an opinion essay. It's a math score on you either have the points or you don't, and so it's fair. That's the best way I can do it, so it doesn't have the appearance of bias that we just selected this event because it was our favorite, or we're favoring a certain group. It's getting the score, it's getting the money because it got the score that deserves that amount.
Okay.
Who's the marketing committee? Is that city employees?
Yeah, and I wanted a representative here. I thought that's what we were going to have as part of the discussion, because this was a big part of it, was this portion of that. Because, look, the marketing committee is a big chunk of what we're doing right now. I think lodger's tax needs to be talking to them more. If it's going to be, it's half our agenda today. So yeah, I need to talk to somebody on the marketing committee or the chair or so on.
Are they city employees or are they volunteers?
They're just a committee, just like you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
I sit
All right.
on the advisory board for the marketing committee.
Yeah.
And it was just put together a couple of months. Just got it together.
So the idea was to help lodger's tax and assist and develop some of these things. Again, my hope is that they do that, but at some point they do have to get going, or else it kind of defeats the purpose of us creating that platform. I really like the idea. Like I said, in the past, we've done some bigger things with it, and it's enabled us to include a lot of entities in town, so that we cover as many people as we can, that we're not leaving opinions out that they're not part of the group here for marketing. But on the other hand, if it doesn't develop or we're too bogged down on it, lodger's tax would have to move on and execute on their own. So we need to, I would say we need to have reports from, if that's somebody that's going to be assisting it, from the marketing committee to lodger's tax, because now we're dependent on some of the things they do.
Yeah, we're going to have to look at that. And Virginia, what you kind of missed the beginning of it. We were talking about either some or all the projects that have a marketing component to it, that the marketing committee do a review on it and maybe suggest that maybe there's some other avenues they hadn't thought about, how they're going to promote their event or what it is they're trying to do. And
Well, they could definitely suggest, but what I want them to do is score the events as well. So we can expand the scoring to them for the group, and so we can what we need to make sure is that we have that discussion beforehand on the scoring and how it's done, and have it be set. And so then when we're having when we're actually recommending the money, we have the scores already set. We know which entity is getting, just like an RFP, which entity is getting what.
Right.
So we need to set dates for when we get our applications in, and then we need to set a date for reviewing and scoring the applications. Right now, we're not having that enough time to do that, so we're just getting applications in. The board, Lodgers Tax Board isn't able to get together. We're individually scoring the applications and going through each one. So what it needs to be done is we need to actually complete the score on each one, gather all the scores from everyone, and see where each event sits. And so then we know, hey, this is just like an RFP, this has been awarded fairly.
So you're saying to include them with you guys? in the
Yes.
plan?
Yes, yeah. And my reasoning is because it expands the scope of, it's not just this board more, and because there's a wider scope on the marketing committee of different groups, it represents a broader consensus of the town. That's what I want to make sure. And so we've done it for bigger things before, and we've tried to hire for a marketing campaign, and when it's worked well. People were happier because they were more involved. They were part of the process, and that's what I want everyone to understand, that this is the criteria we went through, this is how we scored, this is how we approved, so everybody sees it. But if we don't set up deadlines for when applications come in, if we don't set up the date where we get together and score and discuss, then those two things don't happen, and now you have Lodgers Tax awarding money, a week before the council meeting, which is not, to me, an ideal situation.
But we can always schedule a meeting with you guys to get that done. whenever.
We can. So, look, for me, looking around, I think if we establish, and I've been trying to do this for a while now, but other municipalities, we have dates and deadlines for requesting money and when it's awarded, and I think it should be the same every year. We've been trying to do that. COVID threw a lot of, but now COVID is somewhat behind us. We need to establish those dates of hey, this is the deadlines for event funding. This is when you need to apply by. These are where the applications are. These are when you need to have them in by, and this is the date that we're going to score these events on, so we could recommend it to council. That's the fairest way to everyone, or else you're going to have, hey, I didn't know, you didn't tell us, it wasn't announced, so on and so on, or somebody's going to try to apply for an event 2 days before the event that they're holding, which has come up before council. I know of one individual that's always done it for the past 5 years, the week before his event. So, to be fair to everyone, the rules are the rules. I don't know, I've grown up that way. If you're late for something, you don't turn in your homework in time, hopefully you got an F. But for the people that have put in the work, the application on time, filled it out correctly, did the work to say, hey, this is my budget and it's being spent according to Lodgers Tax rules, those things should count.
Well, once you guys decide on what your dates and stuff are, and then Bill could just let the committee know, and then we can make sure that they schedule that meeting with you guys.
Right, and so in the past, what I was suggesting is we can have either 1 or 2 times where we can accept applications for events. We need to make sure that we include the rest of this fall if there's anything that we wanted to include for the fall. But my suggestion was that everybody prepares for next year, and we set a date in at least the first quarter of the year for applications to be handed in, and at least the second meeting by April that we're have these all these applications scored. Okay. to me, it's even earlier than that. The soonest we can do it in the first quarter, that way those events can get going and plan for the rest of their year and how they're going to market their event. The greater the head start that we give the event, the better that event's going to be. That's the other thing that I like to push as the board, is that we shouldn't be marketing just a month to 2 months to surround. The big picture is we're trying to market much earlier than that to grab people's attention.
Well, and it helps the event as well, because when you refer to marketing and promotion, and you know this very well, you usually have a 3-month deadline prior to whatever it is that you're marketing. And that's a minimum. I mean, usually it's 6 months to a year.
Well, and when we have our event holders that involved that early, we can start involving on bigger things. So for our bigger campaigns for New Mexico True and so on, with those bigger projects, they can be part of that campaign. So the ads that we're placing in magazines and so on right now, it could be that event. And showing that could be one example of it. And then the strongest event holders, the most organized, can capitalize most on the city marketing that we're doing.
With that, I'd like to get a copy of the evaluation, the packet itself, a blank one, so the
I
marketing...
don't have anything to lodger's tax, that's,
I know, but I'm saying is that I would like for you guys, the marketing committee, to look at what the packet is and how the points are, so when we do sit down, you're not just getting it for the first time. You'll have a chance to review a blank one.
We
can understand it.
Are there still some sitting at the right at the entrance here, Bill? They might just be sitting right at the window here. I've seen them there in the past.
But if we want the marketing committee to participate in this, they need to also look at the blank one.
Right,
and
do you
see.
want them to have the blank one, or do you want them to have the one that actually gets submitted by the people, so that they can
Submit
score
by the
it?
people.
no, what we'll do is, on the next meeting we have coming up in August, I'll give them a blank one so that they see what it's like,
the
what they
application
have
looks
to
like.
look at, what they're gonna be scoring.
Right. So you
Yeah.
can see it. And so what I'm asking, what I'm saying is that I don't think that we necessarily have to score when we meet up in a meeting. So people can see the packet. You could, if you find it, you'll be able to see the packet already. And we can have that discussion on that application. It's pretty solid, but we've had that discussion in the past with the board on whether we wanted to make changes, or if we sought something differently within the application. But it's readily available. If we could put it online, that would be great too, unless it's already on the city website.
It is.
But
Yeah.
what I'm anticipating is that everybody knows what the packet's like, okay? The applications come in, there's a deadline for it, and then there's a period where we can all review.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be we're all sitting in the same room just yet. We can review the packets, and we could score accordingly, and then we get together and gather our scores, okay? To me, I think from when the application comes in to maybe it could be a week to 2 weeks to the lodger's tax meeting, or the meeting between I guess we'll have to figure out if that's possible. Another scenario is that the committee can meet on its own, and lodger's tax meets on his own, and then we can gather all the scores for the application. But I don't think we should score it then and there in the meeting. To me, I think we should be reading the packet, reading it thoroughly, and judging it accordingly, and taking our time to do it. That's what I anticipated the lodger's tax board to do as well. Okay, it's not something that we decided during that meeting for that time period. We want to make sure that we've, as many people as can, has gone through this application, seen it, and score it, so we can have a proper discussion about the event. Not only that, we can have proper feedback for the event. And that's something I wanted to also make clear, is that this is feedback. This isn't, I think sometimes people see it as criticism, and it's not. Every time someone's come up to for a marketing event is always to say, hey, how do we grow this event? How do we make this bigger? How best can we market it? So our recommendations back are always, how do we improve the event? So my hope is with doing it in this way that we could provide that better feedback to the group, and it's just to make that event better. So within this August timeframe, I'm hoping we're going to give this another go. There's no COVID as of now here. Let's try to establish this again. It's an application system for events.
What would be the deadline for a fall event to submit an application?
That's something that we're gonna, I mean, some of these events, I was hoping that they would already have some of their things in, but I guess maybe they didn't, they're not sure whether COVID or no COVID, but right now they should have something going, and so we need to do something in particular for the fall, since it's unusual. But in my mind, if we set a date for the first quarter of January, that somebody that has an event in the fall of 2022, they better have an application ready in January to market in fall. And so that's how we can push.
But there's nothing available for the next.
Right, and we're gonna have to discuss on what we do for, it doesn't keep us for planning for the future, but we're gonna have to decide what we're gonna do system-wise for anybody that wants to market in the fall.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, so last year, we did put the word out after the January meeting. And, but I think the mistake we made is we put the deadline too close to April, to the April meeting. So by the time we got the applications, trying to review them, we really got in a crunch time. And so my suggestion would be that, again, you know, we'll put out the announcement in January, but we'll make it deliverables in May. And that way we can get the applications out to the marketing committee and to the board before the April meeting. And so those decisions can be made then at that meeting.
Okay.
And that'll give us May and June to get everything, you know, into the purchasing system and everything else, so we're not just scrambling at the end of the year. And that, you know, a lot of these things we need to have in place. If not, if you have a July event, you have to have it in place in May, because come June, all the accounts are closed.
We're already behind, technically right now for next year's event, and so that's what I'm trying to say on because we're the system is in place. So to me, for a July event, May is too late to start marketing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, not too late, but I mean, it's, especially if it's a bigger event, you've only started 60 days before your event, when we could be doing it a lot earlier. So me saying, you know, in January is the best way I can say that, and so we need to decide if our summer events are big events, we need to maximize those dates and give them the most time to market, and give us the most time to market with the broader campaigns. Okay, so again, it's going to be important for us to set a date and stick with it, and we need to take care of the events that have fallen in between that date that we're trying to stick with. So are we saying if we stick with our January, say we for a January meeting for applications, do you feel that's too early?
No. Oh, to make application, you mean?
Applications need to be in January.
You're just saying the deadline should be a little earlier.
If you're right, if you're going to have an event in July, you probably already know it before January. So maybe we should put the word out a little bit.
I want them to start thinking about the event at least 6 months before. If it's summer, I want them to start talking about their event at least 6 months before.
Gotcha.
At least, and I think it'll be the best for everyone. So we're giving everyone at least that due time to market this event and do it properly and be fair And again, I think it helps with the broad marketing too. It gives us time to put it in bigger things. If we're going to continue on with, if we really think, if we keep growing, say, our music festival and so on, we keep growing it, we're going to want to market for longer, and we're going to want to market bigger. But we got to be organized and have it be justifiable, and it can't be an impulse emergency thing every year. I mean, I
agree
think.
with you, because even looking at the New Mexico True schedule here that we have, for example, we have deadlines in November and December to promote the July events. So, you know, they have to know ahead of time to be a part of the New Mexico True, for example.
By November, right?
By like
So-
November, December, we need, that's like, I needed to know today what all the fall events were gonna be in order for us to be able to include those.
Yeah.
So a lot of those won't be included in the fall because they didn't meet today's deadline.
Right.
Yeah. So it is a 3, 6 month, you know.
It's that timeline. So it's not new to us. I'm not suggesting anything new. I mean, at the state level, they're requesting these things early so you can plan and properly marketed events. So I think we need to move on this quickly so that we make sure that 2022 is taken care of. Again, if there's things that fall in between, I think we've already budgeted that we can address events for this immediate year that we weren't able to take care of because of COVID and we didn't have the system in place. But what I'm anticipating is once it's in place, events have to plan accordingly months ahead.
They do it with every other county, even with the county.
Even with the county. So let's just say we need to reestablish that system again. We also did it here. We had deadlines so that we can plan and market for our next year. We just didn't award things weeks before, months before, or a month before the event. So I would say, I'm suggesting January. I'm up for discussion on that being
Having
earlier.
people apply in January?
If you have more feedback on what's easier, and if you have other deadlines and it's easier to plan for, but it's that time period in advance, and we need to reestablish that system so that the community is in the know as well. So they have that information back of, this is the times, this is the deadlines, this is what we need to do when we request for monies, so that everyone, there's that transparency there and everyone knows what's going on. This is probably the most important part about the August meeting, or one of the going for events. So we could put it on the agenda. I think what we should have happen is set dates and exact dates on what we'd like to do going forward. So deadlines for applications and dates when we would review the applications.
Is this something you want to do before the October meeting? You said August.
You know what, the sooner, I like that idea. August, started in August.
You want to,
Yeah,
Okay with that.
we would need another meeting. I don't think we should wait till October.
okay, so we'll
Right.
try to get one scheduled in August?
In August,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Just so we can work on this, so we can get going for, what I also need is clarification, I guess, is probably on rules of order, if lodger's tax can meet with the committee, or if it has to be a separate deal, and then how we would get together to discuss and score the two. So those details I need to know. I don't know committee details.
Yeah, you
And
can
so-
do it either way. We have a meeting every month. We're a monthly meeting.
Okay.
So, and they're very open to assisting.
Is there going to be a meeting before August? Say we set a lodger's tax meeting for August. Is there a committee meeting in between that time?
Yes,
You can set
we
up-
have one August 4th.
August 4th, okay. All right. And so, I mean, as part of an item in that meeting, if you could make sure that they see the applications there.
Yeah, I can definitely let them see the applications and let them know, and then that way, if they have any questions or anything for your August meeting, I can bring those.
Right. Okay. So within that meeting, I mean, there's some homework to do in between too. So I'm hoping everybody sees the application too. If there's anything that we'd like to bring up, we can discuss it for our special meeting in August. But if there's any homework or feedback they can provide for us as far as a good deadline for applications and review and the time frame, provide that feedback so we can discuss it for the meeting. To me, the business items that needs to be set there is the date of applications, the deadline for that, and
Council meetings?
and council meetings and so on.
And
But
what I'll do is.
in my mind, we should be well ahead of it, and that brings up a good point. I mean, we should, our recommendations should be well ahead of council. If we work this out, some of these things that we do should be well ahead of council. Right now, we've just kind of, with all the things, with the year that it's gone, we've always kind of been right behind council, but I don't think that's the best way to use our resources. We try to make a budget for a reason, so, but that budget should include, in my mind, budget also means plan. So if we plan for the upcoming year accordingly of what we're going to do, there's less things we're chasing. Some of the things that we are approved are well ahead of council. At least the hope is. I do understand the delays that happen if council has additional questions and so on. But we can also probably move quicker, anticipate quicker, is my hope.
Okay.
But this is going to help us. Look, we set up a deadline like this, then we can be ahead of it. We don't have those exceptions. We don't have the last minute things that pop up that we want to try to squeeze through.
Mr. Chairman, do you need to vote on, for the special meeting in August, and then we'll work on a date?
Okay. That's a good question. Is that something I think we've just said we want a special meeting, right? You want to go through approval? I'll entertain a motion for a special meeting in August.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call?
Georgina Ortega Onion,
Yes?
Shawna Sandoval,
Yes.
and Alan Eagle.
Yes.
So meeting will be set in August.
Okay, and so as far as the current agenda item, as far as modifying event on the funding cap, I think further discussion on this item will solve that, but I'll entertain any other discussion as far as specifically raising it right now.
Did we lose you?
Who's that?
That should be at 4 o'clock. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have to ask a couple of questions.
Yes, Councilman.
I was going to ask you, so if mayor and council has a request for lodgers tax, we have to abide by your January and August policy?
What we were saying is that a system in place is good. If there's exceptions, certainly council can do what you need to do. And I think that's probably the best way to handle it. If we think that there needs to be exception out of the framework, then I think lodgers taxing are recommended, and then council can do as they may. But I think those exceptions are better rather than throwing away the system. And I think those exceptions are better in place so we can have better discussion on what those exceptions are.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, Bill and his staff have worked on a listing of all business owners in this community
Uh-huh.
by ward. And I think that come January or December, they can utilize that. I don't know if that's, do you have? it in
Absolutely.
the system? Do you have it in a system where you can send out a message like that right now?
No, I mean, there's a possibility we can do it that way. We do have the email addresses attached to each one of those, so.
And that's why I want to move quickly, because I think once we establish a date, there should be a campaign
Yes.
letting everybody know that this is the application, this is where you find it, this is the deadline, please apply, kind of like the census. We want everybody to know the dates, everybody be involved, and so I'm anticipating that come the time that we have more than enough applications than we need, and then we have a different scenario.
Yeah, and the reason I ask about mayor and council is because mayor and council have been talking about making a couple of requests for additional funding, for instance, for infrastructural purposes or something like that. I believe that we're entitled to get like a third or 3% or 1% or something like that.
So, yeah, there's
To
a,
tap into that, and we've found some areas that we need to improve, that we can use lodging tax and make it very pleasant and stabilis in the community. And I'm not talking about going out and helping, I'm talking about helping the general public and the tourists.
yeah, and that's when we, so part of that 1% is when we raised lodger's tax from 4 to the maximum 5%, we wanted to make sure the board at the time, we noticed that we didn't have enough infrastructure projects, and we wanted more, projects going to infrastructure, so we said, look, if we are gonna raise it, we want to put this towards infrastructure, and that's why we put that framework. Some people saw it as binding, I saw it as, no, we'd like to push this to infrastructure. So we'd certainly like to entertain more infrastructure projects for tourism. That's why we did it.
And I thank you for getting the concept that we'll be accountable and responsible.
Right.
And that's where we're at also. So
Yep.
in yours, where you sit from, I hope that, like you said, once the event happens, somebody comes and gives you a report.
Right.
As to what
Right.
happened, if they took a lead on it, or lost, or if they were successful, or how they would want to change it next year. Just a 5-minute presentation letting you know how it came about, how it resulted.
Absolutely.
How that money was spent and so forth.
I agree.
That's all we're asking from them also, to our staff.
Right, so they report afterwards.
For everything, right. Now for the Vistas, we're going to ask for a report.
Yeah.
They better be accountable.
Absolutely.
Not next year.
Right now, yeah,
Still lives
with after the
now.
event, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you're setting those dates,
Mhm.
just a suggestion is you might want to set a date for post presentations. That way everybody knows by this date you have to have your presentation ready to present.
So what I was going to suggest is that it has to be the following, because we meet every quarter, right? So it has to, if the event was held, it needs to be that next quarter, and it has to be done for that report. And then look, that if we, there is some questions on the application itself, is have you received lodger's tax funding before? Some that scoring could orient to that. If the event didn't properly report the prior year, that may reduce some points on the application, and we could be fair accordingly to the people that are reporting correctly and coming back and talking about their event and how it did. So that's something for discussion on the application process as well. I know for sure that we need to stay firm. I've slid a lot of it over the years, and COVID is going to be, but I think if we stay firm in August to establish these dates, we're going to be better off.
And, Mr. Chair, our department will go ahead and put those people on the agenda as they occur, so that, whenever their event term ended, our next meeting, they will be on the agenda to give a brief on how it turned out.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I'll entertain a motion, so, we can have this discussion, there's a lot of things that we can work on, and so I'll entertain a motion, we can move this item for the next meeting. We can postpone this item, or we can move on. I think it certainly can be discussed again, but there's other things that we can put together and come back to this portion. But I'll always entertain if somebody wants to move on it immediately for it. So I think I've entertained it before. If there's any other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to table it until the next meeting.
Motion to table the issue?
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right, roll call?
Alan Ayfield? Alan Ayfield?
Maybe he can't hear you.
I don't think he can.
I don't think Ellen can hear you.
Alan, can you hear us? Alan? Okay. We still have a quorum, so we can move on. Okay.
So Shawna Sandoval,
Yes.
Georgina Ortega Angel.
Yes.
All right.
Motion passes for it to be tabled.
All right. Business item number 2, review of project updates.
All right, I put that in there just since we're starting the new fiscal year, just to let you know what projects are carrying over and what ones are
Yeah.
basically getting kicked off. We pretty much discussed it at the beginning when we were talking about the financial report, but just to go over them again, we still have allocated $150,000 for the marketing plan, and so that's one of the things the marketing committee is going to be working on and deciding, do we go out, do we do things in-house, whatever it takes. The billboards are funded. We've used $13,000, that's the $13,000 of encumbered monies. That's for this year's billboards. And New Mexico True Advertising, we haven't billed that yet, but that'll be billed at the end of the month, at least half of it.
August 1st, the first half.
The
and
first half.
December 1st, the second.
Right. So, and that total is around 79,000. The RAC card is in there because we're expecting approval at City Council tomorrow night, that project. And then the 3 CCHP projects, they're all in motion right now. They haven't used any of the funding yet. And a lot of that may be due to the fact that we just initiated all the new POs. So they haven't submitted any invoices yet to kick their projects off. But these are all in August. So
Which is
August and September.
Which my hope is that, again, that's another example of the trouble I'm seeing is of our marketing efforts, is that's very close to the actual event.
Yes.
And so it's hard for me to see how we've spent this event these monies in a proper way that where it was effective for the event. And so again, it's going back to if we establish a schedule as mighty event, in these year circumstances, this is completely different. But for this ongoing thing, we could say for these events that are happening now, we should be able to see contracts and spent money, in my mind, months before the event actually happens, right?
And we'll have CCHP come to the next meeting and talk to us anyway, because they've spent all their money on the app.
Okay.
So I'd like to
They also
have
need
a
to do a
brief on
report,
their app.
I
Yeah.
suggested that to them before, to that they needed to come up to lodger's tax. So maybe we could be more forceful on, I mean, we'd like to have, we did award meeting money for that. We've done some additional funding. We need to have them come back and report.
Right.
Just like you're reporting now on it, but we'd like to see what it's about.
So we'll have that scheduled for the, if we have time for the August meeting. If not, it'll definitely be in October. But-
Yeah, and like I suggested, like a report, these reports, I think it's good for our quarterly meetings, so maybe we don't squeeze them in the special meetings, because with the special meetings, we've assigned, hey, we need to take care of this. But the quarterly meetings, pretty much these agenda items need to be kind of set in stone on reports. So project reports, event reports, and I guess officer reports for Virginia on all the things that Virginia does, the multi-cap reports there.
Yeah, I think we'll add that to the agenda as a fixed agenda item.
A fixed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so wayfinding, just to give you an idea where we're at with that, we have a contractor for the signs. They manufactured a sample sign. It's a little bit different from the design that the architects had designed. The difference is the signs that the architect company created had a cut Las Vegas symbol at the top, and then the square sign in the middle, and some fancy stuff at the bottom. And the manufacturer we picked, who also does signs for a lot of the federal parks and for the state and everything, actually incorporated all in one sign, and which means we didn't have all this nice etching, which saved a lot of money. So we may be able to get a lot more of our signs done, and we're running it by the designers just to get their feedback and their buy-in on this. It was going to cost well over $100,000 to get all the etching and everything else, and we were just wondering if we were really getting our money's worth. And the signs look just as good.
Right.
So the printing was pretty what I should say, as far as clarity and
So what happened, I mean, we came up with the original number because I thought we had an original estimate, right? I mean, I guess my question is, how did it become
We did.
inflated, huh?
Yeah, we did increase the amount to 63 to cover other expenses, but
Right.
it wasn't as many signs.
Okay,
And then we went through, we were encouraged to go and see if we can get a state contractor. And it took a while to find this person. It wasn't obvious that that's what they did. And, but anyway, I'm kind of glad we locked into this person. And due to COVID and everything else, we've been delayed in getting some additional estimates, like on poles and stuff. They don't make the poles. They have a subcontract
I'm
does it.
hoping the
They
signs
were
aren't
shut
made
down.
of, I'm hoping the signs aren't made of wood.
No, they're all aluminum with high reflective, we get a chance at the next meeting in August, we'll bring the sample in and have everybody take a look at it.
Yeah, I think I remember
It's
seeing
pretty
it on the
remarkable.
plans. I was just saying, because of the lumber prices, so I didn't want,
No, it's not wood, no, it's all
It'll
aluminum.
take your whole budget to.
no, right, just for the wood.
Yeah, wood's expensive right now, aluminum's not so bad, I think.
Okay,
But anyway, that's moving forward ever so slowly, and because of COVID, we were a little delayed in getting the full estimate, which is the decorative poles to hold them up,
okay.
and that's next.
So next, any idea here?
When they'll be ready? We were told 6 weeks once they get turned on,
Okay,
so.
all right. If maybe, I kind of want to hear about it before the next quarter, so maybe if there's new time, if there's time and you or other business on the next meeting, if you have some updates on that.
Okay.
I think a lot of us have been waiting on the
Yeah.
update for you, the wayfinding for a
And
while.
the only thing we're really waiting on right now is the estimate for the poles. And once we have that, then we can put the order in.
Okay.
Under infrastructure, the encumbered, as I mentioned earlier, that's a project with the museum. This is done through the university. The university has not billed us for any of the work on that, so we're still showing a balance of $15,000. And I'm not sure they're going to finish this thing, but this is a project using lodgers tax money for the museum in E. Romero Firehouse. So we're going to have to get a little bit more information from Highlands. I don't know if the students who are working on it graduated or didn't do anything over the past few months because of COVID, and so they're a little bit behind in this whole
On
thing.
the Romero.
Yeah.
If there's, I mean, though there was E. Romero, there was the CCHP that we were for so each one of those that we kind of did for infrastructure, we need to have a report back on to whether that was actually done or not.
Yeah.
We did award for E. Romero for things for the museum, so yeah, we do need to see whether those things were accomplished or not.
Exactly. So we'll have a more in-depth report if at the next meeting in August for that, for sure. And then this is kind of a combination of Riverwalk benches, and it's also, I think, under it's item 3 in here, so this will cover both those. So Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance applied for lodgers tax money for benches and tables and so forth for $19,900. And so I approached them because we're getting ready to order additional benches for the Riverwalk Park. And we can get a better deal if we buy them all in one order rather than Hermit's Peak buy some and we buy some. So I suggested they cancel their request, and the city will use the $19,900 and put it in a bigger order of benches and tables for the Riverwalk.
So it doesn't change the original use we had in mind when we first approved?
No, it was for infrastructure for the Riverwalk Park, and that was benches, as I mentioned, benches and tables and whatever. This will probably go all to benches.
So this makes it better. So at that time, I asked whether, I'm glad that new benches and things were going in, but my biggest question all the time is who maintains it afterwards? Is there a budget for
Parks,
that?
I mean, believe me, that's one of the big,
So does that mean it's
big items.
under the city's,
yeah. And so,
that city's purchasing the benches, it's under the parks budget to keep them maintained, right?
yes.
And
hopefully we won't have to do too much maintenance on them, because
Okay.
they're pretty high-quality benches, so.
good deal.
They're.
I hope so, yeah. The second question would be whether it would be covered in any of our insurance or whatnot, because that's sort of the scenario for sometimes for the Riverwalk is graffiti and people wanting to destroy things that are.
So these are, we're putting a high-quality coating on it to make them cleaning easier. So graffiti, I'm not sure how much graffiti can go on it, because they're they're straps. It's a strap-type bench.
Okay.
So we're doing the installation as well.
You say the Riverwalk. I walk that Riverwalk every other day, from Mills all the way to Independence. Will it cover the other side of the
So
of
there's,
the bridge, going from Mills
just to
to the
answer your
bridge?
question, the design has, I don't remember how many tables are in there, because we were focusing on the benches. There's 21 benches that are going into the park in addition to what's already there.
Okay,
So, and yes, I don't know how many are on the west side of the park per se, but I think there are a couple or few over there. I know where the orchard is gonna go in,
Right.
there's benches and tables going in there.
okay.
So I would say yes, I just don't know, remember how many. I just said, how many do we need? And they said 21, so.
Well, the graffiti has really been cut back because a lot more people are using the park, the walk. So you don't have a lot of vandalism going on there.
Right.
And I've noticed that in the last, since I've been walking it regularly, the last 3-4 months.
And then they've been dredging the river there, right? They've been cleaning that up, or was I imagining that?
No, I mean, at Independence End, they made a fishing pond there.
Okay.
They're not
Before that, they
dredging.
were doing the rewinding.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing the.
Okay, okay.
So it takes more of a natural path and the water cleanses itself as it
Right.
meanders like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so that's it on the projects.
All right, I mean, look, I mean, it's something we've already approved in the past. This seems to be a more flexible way of doing it at a better price. So, I don't have any issues with it. So, I mean, I can entertain a motion to transfer the 19,000.
I make a motion that we transfer the 19,000 to combine it with the city.
Second.
All right, roll call?
Alan Ageville?
I think he dropped
I think he's
off.
dropped off. So Georgina Ortega Angel,
Yes.
Shauna Sandoval,
Yes.
and Krutik Fakta.
Yes.
Okay, so motion passes to transfer the 19,000.
All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Just to add on a little bit, just for in case you don't get the memo or the notice, they are planning to do some kind of ribbon cutting ceremony when the lighting project and all the rest of it kicks off.
Okay.
And down at the river. And, yeah, because they'll be installing LED solar lighting also and replacing the old ones. And there's a lot more going on, and they already put some trash can receptacles that people have donated.
I saw that, yeah.
People have donated with their name and so forth. So, but as far as your question is concerned, who's gonna maintain it?
Yeah.
The Gainas, Friends of the Gainas are still gonna continue
Uh-huh.
meeting, and they're gonna get a lot of different organizations involved. So with this 311 app that the city got now, that will be more of a policing app. If anything's graffiti or anybody that shouldn't be there is destroying or motorcycles are there, they can always use that app to call in and report, and that way police can get there faster. So there are people that care, there are people, volunteers, and they'll be helping maintain that area. And the schools, the same thing. There'll be organizations from the schools that will help us maintain it, because we
Good
have
deal.
38 parks, city parks,
Yeah.
and we're overwhelmed. And right now, we're gonna start.
Did we lose you?
Okay.
So,
All
we
right,
need that
we'll call you back.
involvement of the community.
Absolutely.
They are gonna be our eyes on that area.
Montana?
I tell you, I think it's
Can you
been
call
like
Alan?
300% increase of
Yep.
people using it
Yep.
since 2 months ago.
That's great, yeah. I mean, look, the only reason I brought it up is that, growing up here, I've seen, when we've finally gotten projects developed, and it's great, everybody's enjoyed it, but then it's slowly deteriorated over the years, and since we didn't have the structure or the groups in place and the funding in place, it just steadily fell apart. And so that's why I learned to always ask, hey, when we create something, do we have a plan for its future?
And
So that's great.
Building on 12th and Douglas, it sold last week from somebody from Santa Fe. I don't know what their plans are. And then also the Maluk building got resold. So all that area is getting, going to be getting some improvements done to it also.
Okay, good deal. All right, so we're moving on. We didn't use up too much time. We are, I think, on the, talking about the marketing, and the discussion item for marketing plan. Hey, Alan, we're on the discussion item for marketing plan.
Okay, thank you.
So what I really was hoping that we'd be hearing from the marketing committee. So we need to get going on, we've approved a budget for the marketing plan. We'd like to start hearing from the marketing committee on execution for it.
Yeah, and I would have had someone here today, but I wasn't aware that it was on
It was
there.
on the agenda, okay.
That was my
So,
fault.
I didn't get anybody here, but I can give you an update on it, and I will have the chair here. We are probably going to have a change in chair in this next meeting,
Okay.
because our current chair actually got a job with HBO, so she's going to be going to Texas for a while.
Okay,
But, well, maybe she'll bring us some good stuff back.
hopefully, yeah, okay, but she's returning?
Yeah, she is returning.
Okay, yeah, we can
So-
certainly use the skills.
Yeah, so we'll be switching to a new chair here soon, but I will bring them to give you those updates. They did meet, they are working on the marketing plan, they're about done. They did come up with 4 campaigns for the year. I don't remember offhand what they are, like I said, I just came in unexpected, so. But I do know that one of them for sure is focused around all the trails around Las Vegas with the bicentennial, everything coming up. They really wanted to do that. Another one is a general campaign, and then they had 2 other ones that they focused on. They also, at the next meeting, what they're going to do is they're going to talk about placement, what would be the best places to place all this stuff, whether it be billboards, print, digital, whatever it might be. So they'll be talking about that whole plan. And then some of the other things they talked about was doing the marketing for the tourism businesses and, you know, like the hotels, restaurants, and things like that. And I think that's another campaign they really want to start pushing as well. The state is working on that, so they kind of want to follow in the steps along with the state too. So we're as I meet with the Northeastern Regional Board and the State Board, I pass that down to the Las Vegas board so that, you know, they can use that information and hopefully stay on and work hand in hand with the state. So right now, that's where they're at. They're on their final steps of putting the placement, all that. They should have it done by August. Then we can bring it back to you guys and say, you know, this is what they think the best plan for the city and where to place it all and stuff is. So they should have that done by the
Okay.
next meeting.
And really, I mean, the idea was, so yes, they could assist us, and again, my hope is that, so we can move, that we can encompass more of the community, and then also that we can move quicker to execute. So
Yeah.
we've been having trouble now for a year of who, when, where on marketing services here. So I'm hoping that we start hearing more of
Yeah, they will.
of the
They'll
beat.
break it down. So they're, not only are they breaking it down by like the placement and all that, but then the creative content. Okay, who's gonna do it? How are we gonna do it? You know, can we do it all in-house, or do we need to get, you know, Highlands or a designer or
Right, and
marketing firm or whatever it might
you
be.
have procurement down better than I would, so some of the things that we need to do and how we would go about, how we'd approve, who's the vendor, are we gonna have a design company for design? Is that something that's in-house? I mean, there's things that need to be to be put place as part of that plan.
Yeah.
And again, time is of the essence here now to prepare for the future always. So
Yeah, and then
I'm
we'll-
stressing that they have that meeting so we can come up with that, and we need to have more discussion with the
Right.
group so that together we're on the same page.
Right, yeah. So I'll have them, I mean, we'll have that whole thing out, and then again, I'll have them come present it to you so that you guys can have the discussion, make sure you're on the same page, and then they can take in whatever suggestions, you know, you guys create between each other. And they also did talk about having, maybe not now, because, you know, they just started and we're trying to get everything done for this year and stuff, but in the future, having those collaboration meetings, at least once, twice a year, you know, so that you guys can make sure you stay on the same page with each other. Whether it's just meetings to update each other and, you know, or to talk about a certain topic or whatever might come up. They did talk about that, so they're willing to do
Okay,
that as well.
so we quickly need to identify those things, whether we have that in place. I know we tried to go through Highlands to find some of that, so now we're out with the committee and the public. However it goes, we need to finally quickly get to a place of can we do this? I know some key points that I'd like to get done. I wish we could just send it out and have someone do it, but we're giving this a shot with the feedback from everyone. I just want to make sure that it actually happens. Alan, I know you had some strong points on something that you wanted some sort of contract every meeting, right, Alan?
Well, yeah, sure, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now.
Yeah. And so,
You mean the stats and stuff? I did give those for.
no, not the stats, as far as the marketing.
Oh, as far as, like, yeah,
Marketing
the
firm.
whole thing.
Yeah. And so, my hope is that we get it going with the committee. I understand that they're a volunteer group as well.
Yes.
But we need to kind of hear quickly whether this way of doing it is going to work or not, or we're going to, different scenario. What I'd like to hear, and I'm of the notion, is if this is too big for a broad campaign, is rough on who, what, where, then, I mean, I think we should at least break it up. If we need a design portion and there's groups or entities that are having issues with design, we can at least have something set up for design or campaign, or at least
Well, that's
stick
the
with
great thing about
saying,
the-
hey, everyone stick with New Mexico True.
Right.
But,
Well, that's a good thing about the marketing committee, is they all have marketing backgrounds.
Okay.
Or design background, or some kind of background within that system. So they all know how it should be separated, and what jobs should be where, and like what jobs a design firm does, what jobs a marketing firm does, what jobs a designer does compared to a webmaster or a web designer, or, you know, they know all of that. So it really helps, because they can easily say, oh, no, that's not the job of a marketing firm, that's not what you're looking for, I don't know, just a
Great.
photographer, videographer instead, you know, so that's the good
So
thing.
if that's there, then
Yeah,
awesome. So then they can come back and say, hey, look, this is what we're presenting, this is what we suggest is that we need to go get someone for here, this should go out for RFP, this is probably something we could do in-house, and this is what, and then we can, the board can review and approve accordingly and execute on it. Then we could, at that point, we could finally put some of the dollars to the plan. That's why everything's kind of always been upside down, as we've played most, but.
Yeah.
And so.
no, I have confidence that this, as long as we could keep the board together, I have
Okay.
confidence that them and with you guys, that you're gonna finally reach that goal that you've been trying to reach for a while.
So I put it on this August meeting, we'll have some things to
Yeah.
talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, I'll have them come in so they can explain to you.
Okay.
We'll present we'll present their marketing plan, and then they can also present anything else.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on marketing plan? Alan, you're good for now. We're gonna come back and meet with the committee again, and we'll have some type of report on this ongoing saga for the next meeting.
In
I
August.
guess so, it's mystifying and frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have that on August. Like I say, they have half the plan done already.
Okay.
So, I mean, they just needed one more meeting so that they can finalize
Fine.
everything, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, let's gonna try to wait for Shauna here to make sure she didn't have anything other to discuss.
Oh.
Got 2 more points I think we're gonna meet. We should be ahead of the next meeting, right?
Mr. Chair, maybe we can just
Move forward?
discuss this just briefly.
Oh, okay.
Virginia, what do you think of having the marketing committee come up with an idea on the digital versus, printed visitors
That's what they're
guides and
doing.
stuff
It's all
like
part of
that?
the marketing plan.
Okay.
They're explaining why we need to be in print, or why we need to do
Okay,
digital, or
so
why we need to do
let's just wait
billboards,
to
or-
hear their
Yeah.
reply on that one.
And I'm anticipating the answer. I think it's similar to, I think some of these answers already, like New Mexico True's already kind of given you the answer and with the way they shape things. And New Mexico True also doesn't say, don't do any print, but they say, this is what your mix should
Be smart.
Yeah.
Be smart with it.
Yeah.
And that's all I've suggested throughout the time, is this is what the times are, and this is what it is, and we've got to move with it. And we've got to find the people, or we flex the people that are doing things now. It's like, hey, this is the new scenario we're at. Okay, did you have any other items or anything on the marketing plan portion? All right, if there's no more discussion, we'll move to stats on marketing media.
I provided you guys with, because I know at the end of every fiscal year, it's good to review at least 3 to 5 years. So what I did is I gave you the last 3 years of the stats from the website. So you have all that information, all the analytics, and it should include everything from, where they visited, the top 10 pages they visited, how many, our goal succession rate on there, gender, all that stuff should be included in there. But I provided the last 3 years, and they're all from July 1st to June 30th.
So these.
And I know the last 3 years too, even at that, is kind of hard because of with COVID and everything,
Yeah.
But if you guys want
20,
even
21.
further than that, I can give you the, last 5, but I gave you the last 3.
September, we had a big spike in February of '21.
Yeah, that was the COVID campaign. We had the COVID campaign, and that actually spiked our interest on
Okay.
the internet. And then I don't know.
It's kind of why I want to have you report. And I know, some of these, we can't use, if they're low numbers, we're going to use a longer period of time. But we could talk about the spikes, and then how do we get more spikes?
Yeah.
So.
Go viral.
That's a discussion to be had, but yeah, that COVID campaign looked like, better than anything we had in the 2-year period, so.
Yeah, the COVID campaign, normally, it's like fiestas, events, things to do, food, and Skillet. Skillet just is like famous on our page.
That's
So-
probably, that's a good example. So she just mentioned that they're busier than they've ever been. So there can be some correlation to, hey, Skillet is coming up and how busy they are. So we
Yeah.
could probably, say the same for I don't want to go too far into it, but there's some correlation there.
It's a
But I mean,
miracle.
that's some proof, a little bit of if we do this right, and we have some numbers for it, that this works. We know that our marketing efforts are working because we're seeing the actual clicks and the numbers. So my hope is that
Yeah.
as the New Mexico True campaign keeps going, that for each one that we approve that said click-through, or at any report, but especially like the ones that click through to stay, those ones are really great. Those are big numbers. But to
Yeah.
provide that feedback, we could actually say, hey, what did this end up working, or how effective was it on there? But I'd like to have that discussion with you. So as long as we put it in every quarter, I know for some of this stuff, it's every quarter might be a bit much, but having a discussion on some of these things should be something
important,
we discuss all the time, along with updates on the projects and so. So
Right.
all of this is on the top of our.
And I'm glad you
our
brought that
heads.
up too, because I wanted to, I did recently take an the Advanced Academy, where the analytics, and it shows us how we could actually code these in and break them down, so it'll give us analytics on every campaign that we do.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to be looking into the next couple of months, is I'm going to be doing them so that we have, not only we have it like how you see now when it breaks it down by the pages, but it'll actually break each campaign down as well.
Right, because you guys might suggest that, so I mean, we might do some more, if we really finally get into the nitty gritty stuff, is that we might change some, or even for ad buys, for Google ad buys and so on, we may say, hey, we were getting these hits, or say we want to piggyback around the COVID thing, that would have been a great time to put in an ad about something else on that page.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion to have, is that if we see areas, see hotspots, it's an opportunity for us to advertise, right? They got there, they're there. Even when if you flashed them with the ads, we know that they loaded the page. That's an opportunity. The hope is the click through, and they were there for COVID,
Yeah.
right? But
So even in that 2021, now that you say that with the spikes in that, if you'll notice, there's a few spikes in it, and it kind of stays steady, but with a few spikes. That's because throughout, if you remember, we were the red, yellow, green, so we changed it. We went from red, then we changed, we're now in yellow, and now we're in green, whatever.
Sure.
But as that information changed, you'll notice there's little spikes in there too, because the people went in to get that information and see what did change and what didn't change. We normally have Fiestas on there as top, but this year we didn't. And it could have just been because we didn't really market it as much.
well, did we?
But-
Was there like a schedule of events or anything?
Yes?
There was.
There
Okay.
there
But it's
was,
all
but it
last
was,
minute, though.
it was last minute in the Optic, and then it was on, I think Gonzalo or someone had posted it. We just,
Well,
but you'll also notice with that at the end and the beginning of each report, there's a spike that starts to go up, and then at the beginning it starts to come down. That's because Fiesta crosses over.
Sure.
So you'll have that little
okay.
spike.
Okay.
I didn't think you would catch that, so I thought I'd just explain that. That's why at the beginning, you have one coming down, and then at the end, you have one going up.
Okay. Yeah, I think if we continue to have this type of discussion, we can start making changes. So for next year for Fiestas, we can do, I mean, we were talking about which is next, visitor's guide and all the other things we do, but if we can focus around reports like these and what the execution means online, this would definitely help. What are people looking for? Why are people going online? Are they not going because they don't think there's anything of substance there? Why didn't go in? I mean, this year, everything was short term, so maybe people didn't even think that there was a place to go, or they weren't directed there, right?
Surprisingly, we had people on our website about 22, 23 hours a day, which isn't much of a change than before COVID. So
Okay.
I don't, so it's interesting, even throughout COVID, everybody was still very interested in our website and social media.
For the Visit Las Vegas? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the hot springs.
The hot springs is another one that's usually at the top of our list. We have it on there. So the hot springs, and I can't remember, there's a couple other locations. And I know that you may be on that board, so any
I'm on
information
that
would.
board. Because I
Yeah.
gotta go to a meeting here pretty soon. So I wonder, I can give them a report. This is what I want.
Yeah, what we're looking for is to get more information, not just on the hot springs, but all these places around, and put them in there. So Hot Springs has its own page, and we're looking to put whatever information we can in that. Just like we recently just did, what's the latest, New Mexico Cruise, and the Santa Fe Bicentennial, now that it's coming up. We're gonna be, and this is something you guys will probably wanna know too, we're gonna be probably one of the main websites that connect to the main Santa Fe Trail, because we're going to be the main one for the northeast region of New Mexico. So we're building out a whole new page, or a whole selection of pages just for that Bicentennial Trail. And then, hopefully we can just turn it into like a Santa Fe Trail thing and keep it there all the time. Same thing with Hot Springs. We're kind of looking to do the same thing. Now that you guys, Friends of Hot Springs is creating that whole group, they're having cleanups and security and all that, to be able to have that like we do the drive-in, where we say this is, the drive-in information, how do you get there? I update every week, I update the hours, the movies, whatever it is that they have. During COVID, we did a lot of updates with the drive-in because they changed a lot. They didn't know when they would be open, when they didn't, how many they could have, so we did a lot of changes during that. Now we're back to their basic page, but that's what we're looking to do with not just Drive-In, Hot Springs, any other places, Story Lake, all these places around.
State parks.
Yeah,
the
to just
hiking
really
trail up
improve
to
that
Rabbit's
tourism
Peak and,
site.
Other trails that are opening up for the.
Right, and the Northeastern Region Board is actually working on a trails guide too. And so we've been, asked to be a part of that, so we can incorporate that. And a birding trail. They just created a whole Northeast birding
That's cool.
guide. And you can find it out here if you guys don't have one. But yeah, they created a whole guide, and we're linking everything through, Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas, especially in this region, has the most stable and consistent tourism site. So everybody's looking to jump on and with Las Vegas. So
Okay.
that's, yeah, we have a lot of like I said, overlap there with the Northeastern Regional, with the state board and everything. But that's why we're looking to update a lot of the website to the birding app, everything, the Merrill app, all those will be updated.
If there's anyone, if this is all, if this all can be done in-house, okay, but if there's, and I think we've done it in the past, if there's people we could work with or entities we could work with that help us boost our presence or help us with keywords or analyzing the data that we already have. It doesn't, when it's low, it's kind of easy. We're like, okay, we don't have anything to really see, the numbers are low. But on the other hand, they may help on boosting those numbers, or we're not seeing something that the company can help us with, or the person that can help us. And I know it's been done in the past. I've used a few for the hotels, so every now and then we brush up on, hey, do we have everything in order as far as the presence that we can have, and I think we could do the same for the visitors page there, but
yeah, and so we'll incorporate all as we go along to each of these into a thing for stats, like I said, so that we know.
okay. I look forward to seeing more.
It's interesting.
All right. I think we are on the last portion, right? I think we're at Visitor's Guide.
Well, we just talked about that. Mr.
Visitors guide,
Chair.
print, digital. Okay,
Yeah.
for number 3 on the
So we're
discussion
gonna
items.
just put that on with the
With
marketing.
marketing, yeah, if they're talking about it, I like to hear that feedback. I think it's similar to what we've been talking about. I know that in the vein of what we've done with New Mexico True and so on, that we do need to make some changes, or at least some suggestions on how we can move on that. And then I also know that I think we should, at least if it's there, that there should be entities that can apply for it, and so on. And maybe it's broken up, maybe, I don't know, that discussion, that we, definitely that needs to be that portion of the next meeting when we have the discussion with the committee. Maybe they've come up with something like that. If it works out that you can have 2 different entities, one a digital and one print, if that's possible. I know it seems a little kind of insane, but that's something we should discuss. But I do know that the digital portion of it, at this point, and like the state has also shown, that the digital portion of it, that ratios needs to be higher at this point than the print portion of it.
I agree with you that I think it has to be both, and what that proportion is, because one is actually, as you said, one is fixed in time. So whenever it gets published, that's the information that's going to be on it. But it's, a lot of people like to have something in their hand, or they
They do.
pick it up
They do,
in Santa Fe, and
it's the best way I can equate it. There should still be skiers,
Yeah.
but, it's snowboarding.
yeah.
And we need to arrive at that point. That's what I'm trying to arrive at, is that this is what it is. There should still be for that small amount, but what I'm going to say is that a majority of people, they may put down that print, but they're still going to have their phone in their hand, I'll pretty much guarantee
Exactly.
you. And so that's what we need to have that acceptance on. I think we've kind of been in denial of it for whatever odd reasons, and we need to put our efforts to having a better digital presence for a visitor's guide, a first-class one. If we start with that, I think we're going to be better off.
And digital, anybody can access it.
And it's up to date.
When I'm visiting in New York, when I was there in May, I looked on the digital to see what was happening, what's going on, what are we doing in Vegas? Because I had some family friends that were coming from New York, and I was going in the opposite direction. I was going there. I said, I don't know, let me look. Let's look it up. The digital is awesome. No matter where you're at, you can look.
All right. Any other discussion on visitors?
I'm done.
All right.
I have a question real quick, and
Yes.
it's not on the agenda.
Huh?
I've been attending the music in the park.
Mhm.
Fabulous, I love it. The community loves it. Great turnout for the community, the city, the people. But the banner, there's
Yeah.
banners all over the gazebo itself, and I was wondering, and I had mentioned this, and I even stopped and asked the mayor, is the logo the same for the lodger's tax? What, do we have a logo?
There's
Because I
logic.
want people to know, the public, the general public, to know this is being sponsored by the lodger's tax.
I think if it was paid for by the architects, it should be by,
Yeah, I know
By
they
rule,
will
you
announce
need to
it,
put it-
and yeah,
it's paid for by the
that has
legislature, right?
been brought up, and
yeah.
so we're looking into
It did say
maybe.
it on the banner.
Just, yeah,
Good.
but
Okay.
one little
Are you
part,
asking
but I'm
if
talking
there's-
about around the gazebo, there's all these sponsors, and are we not a sponsor?
Mhm.
They did have
So,
the one over the bridge that had in big letters sponsored by Lodge.
yeah, but it was just a little tiny thing there. I'd like to see something
Bigger
there,
presence.
the presence.
Yeah.
Because you have family members going there, and when they say see who's the lineup that's coming up, there's people that are coming in from out of town, hey, I can go visit my family, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, whatever, for the weekend, come in Friday, they've got some free show on Friday night at the park. I want them to know who's doing it.
We talked about it during Fiestas, and we're probably going to go ahead and get a couple banners made up that we can, this event is sponsored by Las Vegas Lodgers Tax.
The city of
And,
Las Vegas,
Yeah,
yes.
City of Las Vegas Lodgers Tax. And that way we can use it anywhere.
Well,
Exactly.
So we're going to do
We also
that.
need
saying
to
you want
make
a-
sure that, we haven't been doing enough of it, but to make sure for the monies that we have applied, that the events are following through with that criteria. I believe under rule, if they don't during their event, they don't receive the money.
Well, it's only the one banner that's on Bridge Street,
Right.
Well, and that's gone now.
and now it's gone.
Yeah.
Correct. But the events are taking place every Friday until, what, October, is that what? or
And that was Mr.
Yes.
Ledger that promised to put up a, or is that the city?
That's Friday's Al Fresco, right?
Yeah.
Is that Friday's Al
Put up
Fresco?
a-
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you
if
could
he
use that
keeps
banner
selling
for
them.
whatever we sponsor, or
Right.
we're the sponsor on it, it's there. So the public knows that, the people that live here know, oh, lodger's tax, yeah. My
And-
family's coming down, stay over here, eat over here. That's lodger's tax money coming in, you know?
We could definitely market ourselves better, just so that people know where some of the.
Well, we'll
things
have
are.
one in another week or so whenever we can get that delivered, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, roll call?
Alan Akel,
Yes?
Georgina Ortega Angel,
Yes.
and Shana Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Alan, are you staying for the next meeting?
Yeah, is it here?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm staying.
Okay.
I gotta go to another meeting.
All right, Bill, I told